Okay, so today we're talking about peaches and way too many. That's coming up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today. It's the middle of April, and we have some thinning to do. So what we're doing today is we're actually going to be thinning, several of our peach trees. We're going to show you one of them, and that's our FlordaPrince peach. Now, we've talked about this tree before, but we actually have an update that we gave you guys on the fruit set. I'm going to go ahead and link that here. We were a little concerned this year with a late frost and the fruit set on these trees, but as we talked about in that video, man, this tree is doing fantastic this year. So we've got heavy fruit sets in here. Now, one of the other thinning videos that we've done so far this year, I'll link it for you, was our apium. So our Flavor Delight apium. We talked a little bit about how you determine what you're going to thin, what you're going to leave, and spacing. So now peaches. These peaches, one of the things that we've noticed with peaches here, and it really is true of any peach tree, is they have a tendency to set very, very heavily, and the tree itself can't support it. When you leave a peach tree on its own, one of the things that it usually does if it's an older tree is it'll hang on to pretty much all that fruit, which is what this tree has already done. We've had several heavy winds that have come through the Whitman area. I mean, heavy winds, and would have dropped fruit. None of our fruit is dropping, and we found that also with the peaches. So we've got to come back in and manually cut this back. Now, if you don't, because of this heavy fruit set, you have a couple problems. Biggest, first and foremost, would be breakage. So if we don't come through and we don't actually thin these branches, some of the smaller branches, because peaches actually fruit on last year's wood, so last year's new growth, is where you're going to find your peaches. If we don't come through and thin, those branches are going to break, which the problem there obviously would be bacteria, fungus, and things like that that'll get into the tree and actually damage the tree. Second thing would be the actual quality and size of the fruit. FlordaPrince peaches should be the size of a baseball, not the size of a golf ball. So we want to come back through, and now's the perfect time. Get this thing thin so we can get nice, big, juicy, just amazing fruit. We've talked about this before, but I'm just going to take a couple branches in here and talk a little bit about what I do with peaches. So she squeezes in, you can see the size, so about the size of a ping pong ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this branch as an example. So you can see the branch itself. Again, this is growth from last year. Right now I've got 5 fruit on here, which is way too much. So generally with peaches on a branch that, let's see, coming from here is probably about 1.5 to 2 feet long. A branch like this should probably only have 1 or 2 pieces of fruit on it. But let's go ahead and thin this. So what I'm looking for is fruit size. I want to get a good size fruit. I've got one here on the bottom. Only challenge there would be it might have a hard time ripening up because it's on the back side of this branch. I've got one here on the front, but you know what? It's got some damage on here, so I'm not a big fan of that. Right off the bat, I'm going to pull that. Just dropping it on the ground for compost. All right, small fruit. I've got a small fruit down here. By the way, I'm going to twist and pull. So when I pull these, I'm going to twist and pull. And then I've got this fruit in the front, already getting some color on it because it's getting sunshine, as you can see. This back fruit, even though it's a little bit bigger, is going to come off. So we're going to go ahead and twist and pull. All right, so that leaves me with 1 fruit here, and I've got 1 fruit here. I like to use about the span of my fingers, which is probably about 5 to 6 inches. It's not perfectly 6, because I know that's about 6 inches, but it's about 5 inches apart. I've got 2 pieces of fruit here on this branch. I'm going to go ahead and leave those. We can always come back. Other things that I look for, I'm not seeing in here quite yet, would be doubles. So if you have any fruit, peaches love to set doubles. They'll have little fruits that are either touching, actually almost combined, like conjoined twins. But whenever you have that, you need to lose one of the fruits because they're going to try to grow into each other, and you're going to get either unevening or completely unripened fruit. One of the two will not ripen completely. So I always look for doubles and pull doubles. And then of course spacing. So Lori and I have got our work cut out for us. We're going to have you go ahead and peek in on our next few minutes of work while we take a few of the extra peaches off of this tree. Okay, so we're done. So that took Lori and I about 5 minutes or so. So really not bad. I'll tell you what, it's still hard to pull some of these off the tree because we want them so bad, especially when it comes to this fruit. We know how amazing it tastes, but I'm gonna have Lori go ahead and pan down. Forgive our weeds. We've had a lot of rain this spring. We're combating weeds, but take a look at some of the fruit on the ground so you can see we've got a lot of fruit on the ground. I mean, we've probably reduced the total volume on this tree of about, I'm gonna say probably 30 to 50%. I'm guessing there's at least 100 fruit, maybe more on the ground, and obviously we still probably have some thinning to go. But first round of pruning or thinning, give you an idea of what the first round of thinning should look like. That's what we've got on the ground. We're just gonna let it compost in place right here with our wood chips. But I think we've got our first round of peach thinning done. So just want to thank you for joining us today. You know, if you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to the channel. You know, we cover a lot of things here on the channel. Obviously, fruit trees. We're in the middle of fruit tree season, really just kind of starting. So love this time of year, just a beautiful explosion of life here on the farm. You know, if you haven't seen it, we're going from this 1-acre farm to a 6-acre flat desert piece of land, doing even more than this on that, turning it from flat, raw desert into a functioning 6-acre farm. Would love it if you would join us. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. Instagram and Facebook, we're there. And if you haven't seen our Amazon page yet, I'll link it down below. So just want to thank you guys for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you.